A very good afternoon to all of you. So, good afternoon, all. Good afternoon, Jai Hind. I hope each one of you are doing great. So, in this session before you, now we will be moving on to our sixth chapter of Indian Polity NCERT from class 8th. Clear? So, in this session today, we will be discussing the sixth chapter, Confronting Marginalization. Okay. Now, this is the sixth topic of our class 8th NCERT. Now, previously, as I had told you in the previous topic, we had studied about the marginalized sections. We had studied about those communities of the societies who are marginalized. Okay. Now, in this session, we will effectively discuss as to how marginalization is being confronted. Now, the best part in this topic is that herein we will be discussing about the interventions made by the Constitution of India that essentially targets and ensures that nobody is either exploited or somebody is marginalized in the society. Now, the best part with our Constitution is that even though our Constitution contains various provisions regarding equality in the society, the Constitution simultaneously contains some enabling clauses so as to confront the challenges, confront the exploitation that may be faced by the vulnerable sections of society. So, in our Constitution, even though on one hand, equality is something that is promoted, but simultaneously, the Constitution is taking care of the vulnerable section of societies, primarily the women, the minorities, and the scheduled castes as well as the scheduled tribes. Okay. So, the Indian Constitution has been confronting the marginalization in the most holistic manner that is available for its citizens. Clear? Okay. So, very good afternoon to all of you. I hope all of you have been doing great. So, all of you who have joined me now in this session, do let me know in the comment section, am I audible loud and clear? Now, when we talk about confronting the marginalization, we will have to see as to what all provisions have been available, what all provisions have been made available to the sections who are vulnerable or who are prone to any form of discrimination. Now, when we start off with this, when we talk about the provisions for the marginalized sections, we will see that our Constitution has got variety of provisions. Okay. In the previous topic, we had studied about the Adivasis, how they have been suffering. We had taken up examples of a few minorities also and how they are vulnerable and how they may face any form of discrimination in the society. Now, today we will see as to what all are the provisions available in the Constitution of India that ensure that no individual is discriminated upon. Okay, there cannot be any state sponsored discrimination or exploitation of a section that is vulnerable, a section that is effectively part of the depressed societies. Clear? So these all things are being discussed in our session, in this session today. Now, when we talk about the provisions for marginalized or the constitutional safeguards that have been made available, we have seen that there has been extensively fifth and the sixth schedule available. Clear? The fifth and sixth schedule have been made available. So essentially, we have got separate provisions. Okay, fifth schedule deals with the administration and control of scheduled areas in 10 states. Okay, and scheduled tribes. Okay, moreover, it also provides for the establishment of tribal advisory councils. In the 6th schedule, it deals with the administration of tribal areas in Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura and Mizoram. And there they have been providing the provisions for the establishment of the autonomous district councils. Okay. Along with it, in the form of instructions, Article 46 is available. Clear? Article 46 that directs the state to promote with the special care for the educational and economic interest of weaker sections of people, and particularly the SCs, STs, and to protect them from all forms of social injustice and exploitation. Clear? Similarly, there have been provisions under Article 244 of the Constitution. Okay. Now, under Article 244, it specifically relates to the administration of scheduled areas and the tribal areas. Clear? Parallelly, if we have to see, we also have fundamental rights available under Article 14, Article 15, Article 16. Okay. And we have seen that essentially fundamental right under Article 17 specially caters to any form of untouchability. Clear? Now, along with this, there also have been some key legislations which are made available. Okay, we have got the SC/STs Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989. Okay, we have got the Forest Rights Act. Okay, 2006, and that is also the Scheduled Tribes and Other Traditional Forest Dwellers Recognition of Forest Rights Act. Okay, we have got Panchayat Extension to Scheduled Areas Peace Act of 96. Okay, so there have been variety of constitutional as well as statutory safeguards for safeguarding the rights and interests of the depressed sections or the vulnerable sections of society. Okay, now when we start off with this, okay, this topic caters to various examples. Okay, it gives us various examples of various forms of discriminations. Okay, discriminations that have been historically reported in the form of denying access to public places. Okay, any form of degraded occupation like the manual scavenging. Okay, any form of violence and atrocities, any form of social ostracism, and any form of humiliation that has been imposed upon the vulnerable sections. Okay, then these constitutional provisions like the Article 15, 16, Article 17. Okay, so these also have talked about various forms of things. Okay, along with this, we have seen that there are provisions like Article 330. Okay, so Article 330, Article 332, Article 334, which provides for reservation of seats for the SCs in the Lok Sabha and the state legislative assemblies. Okay, we have got provisions under Article 338. Okay, Article 338A and Article 338B. Okay, that is talking about the special National Commission for SC, STs and other backward classes. Okay, we have got the Civil Rights Act, we have got the SC, ST Prevention of Atrocities Act. Okay, Manual Scavenging Act. So many such provisions have been made available so that the vulnerable sections are not subjected to any form of exploitation in this country. Clear? So today in this session we will be dealing about these prominent provisions that have been made up. We will also discuss the important provisions around the term Dalit and around the term minorities. Okay, what essentially do they mean? What all are the scope under them? Okay, what all are the constitutional safeguards made available? Okay, and we will also see the challenges that are being faced. Clear? So when we start off with this topic, okay, this topic essentially herein, okay, in the previous topics we had talked about the prejudices, the stereotypes around the marginalized sections. Okay, now in this topic we will read about the different ways in which the groups and the individuals challenge the existing inequalities in the societies. Okay. Adivasis, Dalits, minorities, women, and other marginal groups, they argue that simply by being citizens of a democratic country, they do possess equal rights and their rights must be respected. They do have the right to live a life with dignity. Okay, so herein we will see why the Constitution of India is something that marginalized groups often invoke in the course of their struggles. We will see how rights are translated into various laws to protect the groups. Okay, now we will see as to how rights they ensure that groups can be protected from continued exploitation, and we will also see the government's efforts while formulating the policies to promote the access of these groups to development. Okay, so first and foremost, herein we will talk about the fundamental rights. Okay, now when we talk about the fundamental rights, okay, now in the first chapter of this class 8th NCERT, we had seen, okay, about the principles that make our country a democratic country. And in this way, I have also told you that the most prominent role of the fundamental rights is to make this country a democratic country. If the fundamental rights are not available, then this country would not be a democratic country. Okay, so these fundamental rights, these are available to all Indians equally. In the previous session, in the previous topic wherein we had discussed judiciary, therein we had also seen one more thing as to how fundamental rights, okay, are being protected by the judiciary itself. How Article 32 that constitutes the heart and soul of the Indian Constitution works. Clear? So we have seen that as and when the marginalized sections are concerned, the marginalized sections, they have invoked these fundamental rights. Okay, and by insisting upon these fundamental rights, they have forced the government to recognize any form of injustice that is done to them. Okay, so by these fundamental rights, they have insisted upon these fundamental rights and have forced the government to recognize the injustice that has been done to them. Along with this, they have also insisted that the government enforces these laws, and in some instances, the struggles of marginalized have influenced the government to form new laws in keeping with the spirit of the fundamental rights. Clear? So, first and foremost, our constitution, okay, in the form of the provisions made available under fundamental rights are the strongest weapon that is made available to the marginalized section. Okay, in this, the Article 17 of the Constitution states that untouchability has been abolished. Okay, now this means that no one can be henceforth prevent Dalits from educating themselves, entering temples, using public places, etc. Okay, now additionally, I would also tell you our constitution. Okay, now this is a very prominent question that has been asked many a times in the examination by UPSC. Now, can anyone of you tell me that how does constitution define untouchability? Anyone who is part of this session, can you please tell me that how does the constitution define untouchability? If anyone can answer this, how does the constitution define untouchability? Now, interestingly, the constitution has not defined this term untouchability. Okay, and this term untouchability has once been defined by Mysore High Court. Okay, now Mysore High Court has defined untouchability as the inequalities that have been imposed upon an individual by virtue of them being born in a specific community or a society. Now, do you guys know that in case somebody is convicted under these social laws, if somebody has been convicted in India of practicing untouchability, then that individual cannot hold a public office in India. That individual is not allowed to contest any further election in the country. So, the constitution is not a toothless tiger. The constitution has come up with the provisions to abolish any form of social inequality, and along with it, the constitution has also prescribed how the punishments shall be undertaken in cases of violation. Clear? So, in this situation, constitution clearly mentions that it is wrong to practice untouchability, and this practice will not be tolerated in our democratic country. Okay. Moreover, as I have told you, untouchability is also a punishable crime in the country. Okay. So not just untouchability, it is not only because of Article 17 that an individual is being enabled to pursue, okay, their rights. The constitution under Article 15 also ensures that there shall be no discrimination to an individual. There shall be no discrimination to an individual on the basis of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth. Okay. So, if these inequalities are not imposed upon an individual, then an individual can perfectly work under a democratic environment. Okay. Moreover, this has been used uh, by the Dalit communities to seek equality wherever inequality has been imposed upon them, or wherever it has been denied to them. Okay. So anytime if any individual from a depressed society or being part of a depressed society feels that he or she is being subjected to any inequality, they can invoke fundamental rights. Okay. Wherever they feel they are being treated badly, they can invoke them. Okay. Moreover, these essentially have drawn the attention of the government of India to the constitution and have been demanding that the government abide by it and do justice to them. Okay. Not just the Adivasis, but also the minority groups. Okay. Now the other minority groups have drawn on the fundamental rights. Okay. And they have particularly drawn upon the right to freedom of religion. Okay. Now in our country, if we talk about minorities, okay, the constitution essentially acknowledges two categories of minorities. Okay. Minorities on the basis of religion and minorities on the basis of language. Okay. Now, in this situation, we have seen that the constitution also has got some cultural and educational rights under Article 29 and 30. Okay. So, these freedom of religion and the cultural and educational rights, okay, they ensure that people will with distinct culture and religious groups, okay, they do have the right to be the guardians of their own culture and of their own religion. Okay. In country we have got minorities like the Parsis, okay, which are very few in the population, and at times it might be a situation wherein they might feel vulnerable. Okay. But the constitution grants them different forms of cultural rights. The constitution now ensures cultural justice to these groups, and the constitution does this so that the culture of this group is not dominated or wiped out by the culture of the majority community. Clear? So there have been the constitutional provisions, and along with this the laws have also been made for the marginalized sections. Okay. Now, in our country, there are specific laws and policies for the marginalized sections in the country. Okay. We have seen that these policies or whatever the scheme the government comes up with, Okay, they have emerged through other means like setting up of a committee or by undertaking a survey. Now, previously we had also discussed about the Sachar committee report. Okay, so like these committees which are made, the government makes an effort to promote such policies in order to give opportunities to specific groups. Okay, moreover, as in the endeavor, the government in their endeavor to implement the constitution now empowers the state as well as the central government to create schemes specific for the upliftment of tribals, okay, development of the tribal areas, okay, or the areas that have got high population of the Dalits. Okay, for example, we have seen that the government provides for the free or the subsidized hostels, okay, for the students. Okay, we have seen that hostels have been provided for the Dalits and the Adivasis community so that they can avail education facilities which may not be available in their localities. Okay, so not just the hostel facility or the living facility or the subsidized fees. Okay, the government also ensures that they must be supported. Okay, now there have been laws to ensure that concrete steps are taken to end any form of inequality in the society. We have seen that there are laws, policies, okay, like the reservation policy. Okay, the reservation policy in this current scenario is significant, and this is something that is highly contentious. Okay, the laws have been made, the reservation policies have been made to reserve seats for the depressed classes in the education and also in the government employment. Clear? So this is essentially based upon the argument that in a society like ours, where people have faced some sort of discrimination, okay, so in order to support them, these provisions have been made available. Okay, now the bigger question comes up that how such policies work. Okay, if we have to take an example, how does this reservation policy work? Okay, now in order to implement these reservation policies, okay, the governments in India, in the states as well as at the center, they have their own dedicated list. Okay, list of scheduled castes, which are being referred to as Dalits. Okay, scheduled tribes, okay, and backward and most backward castes. Okay, central government has a separate list, state government has a separate list. Okay, now when students they apply for educational institutions, okay, they are expected to furnish proof of their caste or their tribal status in form of their caste and the tribe certificates. Okay, now we have seen that a particular caste or a certain tribe, if it appears in the government list, then the candidate from that caste or a tribe can avail those benefits. So, for example, for admissions to colleges, especially to institutes of professional education, such as medical colleges, governments, they are also defining separate cutoff marks. Clear? So, it means that not all the Dalits or the tribal candidates can qualify for the admission only by being featuring in the list. They also have to do reasonably well and secure marks only above the cutoff marks so as to get admitted. Now, government also offers special scholarships for these students so that they can avail these benefits. Clear? So, in our country, there have been various laws and policies that have been made to protect the rights of Dalits and the Adivasis. Clear? Now, in addition to these policies, the country also has got some specific laws. Okay, laws have been made to guard these communities from any form of discrimination. Okay, so previously we have seen that there have been various discriminations taking place. Okay, in the rural areas, in the villages, there were various examples that certain acts were to be done, were mandated to be done by the depressed classes. Okay, and those responsibilities which were demeaning to them were passed on to them from generation to generation. Okay, now the people started raising their voices against these. Okay, now with the constitutional interventions and the statutory laws that were made, the people started to realize that this is a form of discrimination to them. Okay, now those discriminations were in the form of various religious activities or various social activities which were mandated upon them, but they were highly demeaning. Okay, so in this situation, the country has also made various laws. Okay, the Scheduled Caste, the Scheduled Tribes Prevention of Atrocities Act came in 1989. Okay, even though there have been various social stigmas associated with these acts, but the laws have been made so that these people can be safeguarded. Okay, so in this we can just talk about the Scheduled Castes and the Scheduled Tribes Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989. Okay, now in case of any discrimination, in case of any form of exploitation, the individuals belonging to the depressed classes, they can sort these, they can seek any form of support from these law. They can file the complaint under the act to protest against the domination and violence that they have been subjected to. Okay, now this act was framed in 1989 in response to demand that were made by the Dalits and others that the government must take seriously the ill treatment and humiliation that these communities have to go through. So even though these treatments had persisted for a long time, now it had acquired a violent character in the late 1970s and 80s. And it was around the same period of time, primarily in the South India, Dalits group, prominent Dalits group, they came into being and they asserted their rights and they refused to perform the so-called caste duties and insisted upon being treated equally. Okay, so we have seen that these agitation, these movements that were brought in by the depressed classes in the late 1970s and 80s had resulted in a more powerful caste violence that was unleashed upon them. Okay, so it was in order to ensure that no such thing happens in the future, the government had to come up with these laws. Okay, even though these practices are being practiced now also, but still there are remedies which are made available, and the punishments that are prescribed under these are very strict. Okay, now uh, like the depressed classes in the 1970s and 80s, the Adivasis had also successfully organized and demanded equal rights for their land and the resources to be returned to them. Okay, now those times these people had also been exploited. Okay, so we have seen that these acts that have been made for the SCs as well as the STs, okay, they are basically available as remedies for them. Okay, and we have seen that these act not only uh, is applicable to terrible crimes, but also it lets people know that what dreadful deeds human beings are capable of. Now, in this sense, if we have to see these laws like these, okay, they seek to punish both. They seek to both punish as well as influence the way we think and act. Clear? So these laws that have been made, they are being used as a deterrence. Okay. Moreover, these acts, they have covered all sorts of humiliation that can be inflicted upon individuals. So this act, it distinguishes several levels of crimes. Okay. Moreover, this act has a list of modes of humiliations which are both physically horrific and morally they are very reprehensible. Clear? Now, these laws, they seek to punish those who force a member of scheduled caste or scheduled tribe to drink or eat anything that is edible or obnoxious. Okay, they also cover if somebody forcibly removes the clothes from the person of a member of a SC or ST community or parades them naked or with their face painted or their body, or commits any similar act that is derogatory to human dignity. Moreover, it also, so first we have seen that it lists the acts which are modes of in the modes of humiliation. Okay. Secondly, it also lists actions that dispossess the Dalits and the Adivasis of their resources. Okay. Or force them into performing activities like the slave labors. Okay. So this act also punishes those who wrongfully occupies or cultivate any land owned or allotted, okay, to a member of SC or ST community, or get the land transferred to them in a fraudulent manner. Okay. Moreover, these acts also work at a next level. Okay. And they also recognize any crime that has been done against the Dalits and the tribal women of any specific kind, and therefore they seek to penalize them. Clear? So any form of assault that is being done, any assault or any force on any women belonging to SC or ST with an intent to dishonor her is also made punishable. Clear? So there have been these laws which are a savior for the people belonging to tribal communities, people belonging to the depressed classes. Okay. Now there have been the manual scavenging. Okay, recently we have seen that the manual scavenging laws have also been taken up, and since 2013, okay, there have been various, the prohibition of employment as manual scavenging and their rehabilitation act has also come up in 2013. Clear? So we have seen that any act that is reprehensive, okay, any act that is going against the dignity of an individual, dignity to the humanistic principles, have been now condemned, and various enabling measures and safeguards have been created. Clear? Moreover, around the 1989, the Adivasis demands and the 1989, if we talk about this act, okay, now this 1989 act against the atrocities is important for another reason. The Adivasi activists, they referred to it to defend their right to occupy land that was traditionally theirs. Okay, we have seen in the previous topic as to how the Adivasis have been forced to migrate from their place. Okay, how they have been made to transfer their land and how they have been forcibly displaced. Clear? So there have been various activists and various questions have been asked, okay, against those who have forcibly encroached upon the tribal lands and how they should be punished. Clear? Moreover, it has also been pointed that this act merely confirms what has already been promised to the tribal people through the constitution. The land belonging to the tribal people cannot be sold to or bought by non-tribal people. In this case, wherever it has happened, the constitution guarantees the right of tribal people to repossess their land. So you might have seen various examples. Okay, you might have also discussed this thing. Okay, the areas wherein tribals have been living, the outsiders are not allowed to purchase the land. So this is for the very reason that tribals must not be dispossessed of their land, they must not be displaced, and in case the outsiders start coming and settle themselves in that region, then primarily it will be a threat to their culture and to their close-knit society. Clear? So we have seen that the violators of the constitution, okay, rights that have been guaranteed to the tribal people, okay, the government essentially has come up with the safeguards. Okay, and it is only through the legal procedures, it is only through the law that any form of transfer of land can take place. Clear? So herein we have seen that no forceful evictions can be done. Okay, and it has also been noted that in cases where tribals have already been evicted and cannot go back to their lands, proper compensation must be given to them. Okay, the government must draw up plans and policies for them to live and work elsewhere. Okay, after all, the government spends large sums of money on building industrial or another projects on lands that have been taken from the tribals. So the tribals must not be the ones only suffering. Okay, so there must be proper money must be spent over the rehabilitation of the tribals as well. Clear? So this essentially, okay, these all of these provisions, they essentially ensure equality, dignity, and respect that is required for them. Okay, even though discrimination has existed, but the provisions, the interventions that have been made available, they ensure respect and dignity of life to these tribals. Clear? Okay, so this was essentially in this session, in this topic. This was the gist of this topic as to what all interventions are available, why such laws have been made, and how these laws have been able to confront the marginalization existing in our society. Clear? Chaliye. So I hope these things have been made available to you. Good afternoon, Tahir ji. Good afternoon. So I hope all of these provisions have been understood by you. Now, please do scan this QR code, and herein you can gain access to the PDFs of all the session in my Telegram channel. The channel has been named Defense Decoded. Okay, you can just access this channel by directly scanning this QR code. Along with this, do gain access to our Guru Kripa offer. Okay, so this Guru Kripa offer is going on, and this offer is a limited period offer that gives you 50% off and double validity. Now, with this 50% off and double validity, there is another thing that we are offering. We are providing you mentorship in this course by the rankers, by the successful candidates themselves. Okay, so along with the expert teachers, you can gain direct guidance from the previous candidates of StudyIQ IAS who have cracked this examination successfully. So what all are your doubts in your mind, how this examination should be strategized? You can get the first hand mentorship by the rankers, by the successful candidates. Okay, so just you need to use this code SRM live to avail maximum discount and the facilities which are made available in this Guru Kripa offer. Okay, and always remember that now the GS Foundation batches are also available in complete English language, and all of our batches are based upon the SMART model of preparation. Now, if in nutshell I have to tell you, this SMART model of preparation, this provides you a complete ecosystem wherein you can track your progress. Okay, you can get regular interventions by the experts. Okay, regular introspection that will lead you to improvement. Okay, moreover, we offer a regular assessment and regular tests in this model of preparation, so as to ensure that you prepare in the most holistic manner. Clear? Chaliye. So this is all from my side today. In case you have got any doubt, okay, around the courses, just give a call to 764-000-3000, okay, and use this code SRM live to avail the discount and offers in this. Clear? So this was all from my side today. We'll see you all in the next session.